This is an addendum to my NATO 1961 playthrough. Specifically, I wanted to look at how it ended with the Soviet Golf SSBs off the coast. Um, look at the platforms, perhaps even build out a scenario on it. So what you see on the screen right now, this is Command Modern Operations. It does have a Cold War database. So the purpose of this video is just kind of take a look at the different platforms, their capabilities, circa 1961. I think I do have a few more things I need to do to finish out this scenario and play it through. Hopefully, then I'll be able to post some of that playthrough, um, to see if the U.S. successfully detects before, or at least when they're on the surface, the Gulfs and they launch. So this just be a quick tour here through the different weapons platforms I put in. First one, obviously, we have here is the Golf SSB ballistic missile submarine. Again, this is a Gulf 1 circa 1961. And we can pull up the specs here on it. See, 1958 it was out. There are different Golfs that came out after this, but during the time period we're talking about, this was the model. And here are some specs on it, the ones that draw my attention. Damage points 30, that's how the game plays, but max depth 300 meters. So it's not, I don't know what the conversion is from meters to feet. It's like 3, so maybe 800 feet depth. So it can probably go under the layer where the acoustics it can hide. And then we come down here in the sensors. I don't know how critical these will be to the game. The critical ones probably not going to be going to the surface, turning on the radar. That's kind of screaming up here. We have some passive sonars that potentially they can use to detect enemy submerged contacts, ahead of time and move away from them. Let's look at the weapons down here. This is interesting. The 53 to 51, they don't have it. They have one of these pattern runners. Shouldn't have done that because now I can't get back. Not sure what this does. It is pretty 3 nautical miles. Okay. 400 kilograms, so it's a solid torpedo. But the goal here isn't for them to use their torpedoes. So what I'm actually going to do is let's go. Here we also have the weapons here. And let's look at the main. Okay, they've got 2 regular torpedoes and then they've got these pattern runners. But the main weapon in the sail are the SSN-4 Sarks. I can't believe they yield on this thing. 800 kilotons. I mean, that's just less than a megaton. That is a big missile. The range is 350 nautical miles. Okay, so we can check that. Let's take this guy for example. I think it's Control D. Let's just do it up here. There it is, range and bearing tool. So let's, we said 350. So if we take this out, that's a good range. Stream range gets it right to Pittsburgh. So there's a lot to do here. Let's check this guy. 350 gets it out here. So he will probably be able to, just barely hit Charleston. So there may be some maneuvering there. And then let's check our friend up here. Get this out here. There we go. Yeah, here's the whole New York City. Definitely. It's got this whole area in its range. Okay. So this can reach inland somewhat. Notice the depth changes here. Yeah, then we get to 1,000. That's the edge. So and this is continental shelf. So they're operating right now just at the edge of the continental shelf. So, and they're operating at 2 knots. I mean, let's go back and look at this, see its performance capabilities. I think the important thing is, here we go, depth and speed. Here's the performance when it's on the diesel, but it's not very stealthy if it's on the diesel, because it'll be at a depth that it can snorkel. But the max speed we're seeing 15 knots, 0, and then snorkel depth 12 knots. So that's the max speeds on the diesel. The problem with the diesel is it's more detectable. So if it's on the electric, it can get up to 12 knots, but it will burn through the battery. Right now they're operating at creep or 2 knots, and that's their goal. Serves two purposes: conserves the battery and doesn't make a lot of noise. From what I read, these have 70-day endurance before they have to return to port. At this point, I don't know if they'd be returning to, I guess the nearest port is Cuba. So we'll see. But these three, I'm just doing three as an example, they definitely have the range to strike targets along the eastern seaboard. In response, what I've done is I've put in skipjacks, 585. That's the American fast boats that are out there. Actually, the first one uses this barbell. I think they call it teardrop design. Okay, it's a nuclear sub. Critical component is it's passive only. I don't know how good it is. The weapons are interesting. These are older. When I was in, we were all using Mark 48s. Now they got 48 ad caps, 55 knots. But now we're going back to the Mark 37s, and their speed is 24 knots and 26 knots. Now we did see that against the Golfs, we can get a good, the speed will be okay. Our range is 4 nautical miles. That's 8,000 yards, which again isn't very much. But these are the main weapons against submerged targets. And we do have 4 Mark 37 Mod 1s and 4 Mark 37 Mod 0s. Mark 14s, they're faster, but their target are surface ships, so we won't be using those. We'll be using one of these two here. We don't have any 27s. Let's check our performance. Yep, we got it here. Only one performance. There's no diesel and electric because this is a nuclear power plant. That's on the surface, which we won't operate at. So conceivably, we don't want to cavitate. We could get up to 28 knots if we had to. And at this day and age, I don't think we're worried too much about being counter-detected by the Golf S5W. So we do have an advantage there. So let's see. So I've got 2 of those in 2 patrol areas. And I did throw in, it's hard to see, there it is, near the coast, a Guppy, a diesel boat. Let's look at that. Yep, 1961. Still had diesel boats back then. Again, not too sure about the quality of the passive sonar, and it looks like Mark 37s. Bigger loadout of torpedoes here, but still 4 nautical miles. Gonna have to get within 8,000 yards. I don't think they're wire guarded. Shouldn't have done that. Now I've got the problem of going back. Yeah. Interesting to see that in operation. So let's go back to the Guppy here. Now the Guppy is going to be similar to the Golf. Yep, electric motors, about the same here. She can get up to 18 knots on the diesel. And like I said, using the Guppy close in. Let's see, in the last unit here is at the time the S2 tracker, using this for maritime patrol or ASW patrol. It can operate a carrier or its fixed wing. And its main sensor, radar, HFDF. Okay, it does have a magnetic anomaly detector. And you'll see on the map right now, I've been dry running it. It's been dropping sonobuoys. And then different weapons. I think we'd look at the weapon here. What have we got? 6, looks like depth charge. Oh wait, 4 depth charges and not quite. Oh, those are just regular bombs. And then the depth charges. Okay. Probably the skipjacks are the real weapon, and hopefully the trackers find them. So like I said, I've been test running it, and you can see that the trackers are laying patterns. Sonobuoys there, sonobuoys at that time. Let's see if I can turn off the data blocks. I always forget where that is. Data blocks selected. Okay. Yeah, you can see here, like for example, this tracker has laid, nice name, Jezebel trackers. Don't have information on them though. Let's see if I do that. Yep. Wow, they only last for 50 minutes. So I've got some tweaking to do to this. I'm in what's called God mode right now, so I can see both sides just to show this. And so I put them both in patrol areas. I mean, this one I would say maybe could be detected, but it's only going at 2 knots. The layer's at 512, and it's under the layer. So these sonobuoys may not hear it under the layer. Then we have this one, only at 131 feet. That's above the layer. Interesting. And we've got actually a tracker near it, but it's looking like these all have used all their sonobuoys. Maybe the MAD will catch it as it comes over the magnetic anomaly detector. And then we have this one, 505 feet, yep, under the layer. So both of these are under the layer. This one isn't. Not sure why. But for all of these to fire, they're going to have to come up to the surface. So I got to work a little more on this. I got to put a squadron of S3s in Norfolk, set up a rotation. I think that's the big thing, and then these will potentially be the targets when they come to surface. Then I'll run it. After I've done those, I need to fix the S3s. I'll just let it run and see if there's any luck in detecting these Golfs operating, wow, below the layer at 2 knots. The only scary part about that as a submarine is if you have a casualty or flooding, that depth and that slow, it's, are you going to be able to put up enough speed to drive the boat back up to the surface? Don't know. We do start to see the performance difference of using a nuclear submarine over a diesel boat. But yeah, these are Soviet SSBs, and the other question is, they're only good for 70 days, and where do they resupply? And the only place I can think of is Cuba. That's the nearest place, otherwise they have to cross the Atlantic. So getting them on station, in transit, etc., some down for mechanical breakdown. I don't know how many they could sustain along the coast of the U.S. based on how many they have. All right, so like I said, this was just an interesting side addendum here. Wanted to see, kind of examine the actual survivability of the Golfs that at the end of the NATO 61 game actually took down the U.S. and I can believe it, 800 kiloton. I mean, that's just a little short of a megaton, and they've got 3 of them. Um, the Russians built big ballistic missiles, big warheads. So, all right, well, I'll fix the scenario. I'll try and run it, see how it goes, and hopefully, if there's something good, I can record it and show it. So, but otherwise, yeah, if you are listening, thanks for listening, and we'll see how this turns out.